Hi folks, welcome back to the Hoard. Every once in a while I'll get a question about basic maintenance on these things, and whether you're looking at a three-wheeler or a four-wheeler, the maintenance is more or less the same. And let's break it into a couple of different parts. Before you take the thing out for a ride, no matter what, take a quick look at the oil, make sure it's all proper, right? Wipe it off, look at it again. That's looking pretty black. And what are you looking for? Besides, in my case, that it was pretty black, also take a look at it to see if it's over full, right? Just in case you have a problem with your float or your turn off, and frequently both, right? You'll find the gas going from your tank into your oil. Your oil will be over full. Also take a quick look at the consistency. When I pulled it out, it was a tad thinner than I like, but if you pull it out and you smell gas, or it's running right off the stick and all that, you know you're getting gas into the oil, and you probably don't want to take it out for a ride. So that's very first thing. Second thing, make sure your fins aren't all clogged up with mud and dirt, because if the engine overheats, obviously you get into trouble. At the minimum, it can stall, make you walk home. It'll fire up again when it cools off and then overheat again because it's still clogged until you clean them. Or at the maximum, you can have a valve kind of seize up, open, then the piston comes by and whacks it, or you could, score the hell out of it. It's just, keep your fins clean. Tires. They really, if you go back to some of the original books on these things, they say that you should actually always keep a milk crate underneath it and not have them sit on their tires. You end up with flat spots from being on concrete and dirt and oil and all that. You can actually have a spot on the tire absorb something. It's really best to not have them on the floor. If you do have them on the floor, if you put them on a piece of cardboard, I'm obviously not practicing what I'm preaching, but it's better. So you checked your oil, you made sure you're not hot. Obviously, before you ride it, you want to take it. You want to take a quick look in your gas tank, give it a shake, make sure you got enough fuel in there to go to wherever you're going and back. About the fuel, I've become much more, I'm going to use the word religious, about throwing some additives in. I regularly use the stabilizer. I like the marine version, and I'm beginning to use the sea foam, right? It doesn't seem to hurt. I also like to use premium gasoline in my Honda stuff, and I also kind of like to use the alcohol-free premium gasoline. So once again, before you get on it, oil, you can breathe, you could get plenty of air, you got enough fuel to go wherever you're going and to get back. I also recommend taking a quick look at your air filter. Takes mice only less than a day to build a nest in there, and you'd really rather not find that they ate your air filter, and when you fire it up, you now suck their young into your engine along with their droppings and ammonia and all those other things. It's not good for the motor. So I normally recommend popping the air cleaner. Take it for a quick look. Everything I've described takes seconds, right? I mean, it's not like, oh God, I got all this crap to do before I take it for a ride. Lastly, I normally go by and just give my tires a quick step on like that, and I'll check the other one also to see if it more or less deflects the same. I know these tires are pretty good tires. I just put them on. The back ones were new old stock. The front one was something that held air, but even with that, check the tires before you get out there. And then normally before I ride, I give it a quick rock and roll, and with that I'll feel if, oh wait a minute, what's the neck doing all loose, or why are suddenly you know, the struts loose. And even in the back I'll give them a quick little rock and roll sideways, even grab the back wheels and give them a rock, make sure they're not loose on the axle. A little easier to do if you actually do store them on a milk crate like they're supposed to be stored. So that's the quick part before you ride. When it comes to maintenance on these things, to change your oil, personally, the first thing you should do before you do any maintenance on anything is watch a couple of YouTube videos real quick. The information's out there, it's free, doesn't cause you any trouble, so just do it. On this thing, to change the oil, let me get the camera such that you guys can see it, not just me. I don't know, can you see that thing right there, that plug? Take that off. There's a kind of a mesh filter in there. Pay attention to when you're taking it off, to which direction it goes. I even recommend making a quick note about that. So you take that out, the oil will come right out. And take a look at the oil. I recommend using a good size oil pan like that. Swish it around, make sure you don't have excessive metal in there, and then put good oil in. And about that, I've even gotten a little bit more religious. I'm not exceptionally good about changing my oil, so I've started trying to use better stuff. You go right to Valvoline ATV oil. I've used Yamaha ATV oil, and you actually want to use this kind of stuff because it's the right stuff to go with the clutch. You can use, your typical, I don't know if I have a bottle of it, motor oil, 1040. You can use that, have a good brand, Valvoline motor oil. I don't use, especially if I'm just using car motor oil. I really say, if you're going through the trouble of changing it, what's the difference if you pay $3 for 1 quart of oil or $5 for a quart of the right, better oil? I mean, if $2 is killing you, can you really afford the gas to run the thing? So, I mean, rather than use this kind of stuff, I personally say go with the all-terrain vehicle oil. I mean, once again, what's the difference between $3.69 a quart and $4.99 a quart? Or if you get ripped off at a motorcycle place, $5.69 a quart, $2. If money is that tight when you're working on these things, I don't know what to tell you. So that's how you change the oil. I already showed you the air filter. About these air filters, in the olden days they used to talk about you had to dip them in oil and wring them out and all that kind of stuff. They don't seem to talk about that anymore. If possible, I also suggest that you keep your air assembly and all that intact if you have it, especially on a vintage machine here, because it makes it more valuable. I have used these air filters, and I mentioned one of my subscribers, the dude, he took a flashlight and he shined the light down in that area and down in that area, and when you look through the hole, if you see a bunch of light, like that there's no paper, no screen filtering, right? That's more or less telling you your air filter has holes in it, and that's not good. So take a look at your air filter before you put it on. So bigger maintenance, change your oil. Make sure your air filter is clean. You know, it always depends on all this stuff, how far you go. Personally, for me, I'd rather put a paper filter on these things. I think they filter better. And you vacuum them off, you make sure they're intact, it's all kosher. Generally speaking, the foam filters are more available, so that's what I end up with. Lubrication, this chain lube, really great stuff on the chain. Be careful that you don't run your fingers through the sprockets, because that's not good for your fingers, and it gets expensive when you go to the doctor. Some of this chain lube also, you know, on the bearings, not a bad thing. About the rear ends, there's really nothing you could do to lubricate the bearings on the rear ends for these things. You could do the chains and all that, but there's not a lot you could do for the rear ends to lube them up. There's really not much more I could say about that. I'll kind of go into, if you're buying one of these, what I look at when it comes to them, and then we could go forward from there. Brakes, front brakes, you take these 4 bolts off, bang, 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 spin this thing out of there, take the front wheel off, then you can look at the brakes, right? Obviously I don't have brakes on this. I normally lubricate the cables, right? I give them a spritz of WD-40, right there too. You know, little WD-40. Chain lube is a little stiff for that. I find, especially in the cold, it can kind of jam things up. Chain lube also seems to attract a lot of dust. So once again, on your cables, a little chain lube once in a while. Keep your tires full of air. Some people believe in putting that green slime stuff, tire slime, in there as soon as the tires are brandy new, and that way it keeps them from going flat. Not a bad idea. One of those containers, I think you could get 4 tires out of it for $25. So you know, what are you looking at? About $6 a tire, $7 a tire, give or take a foot and a half. A tube is about 20. You know, a new tire's about 50. So if you let them sit on the tire too long and it cracks, you put a tube in it and you get a little more time out of it. But boy, that's a lot of work. So you could kind of be a little preventive and do that. Once again, better gas. If it's a bike you're not running all that far, all that often, and all that other kind of stuff, I tend not to fill them up. But I know if I'm not, when I do put only a little gas in, sometimes I spray this area with WD-40, right? You can see how pretty it keeps the gas tank. You know, pressure wash them once in a while. You know, keep them all clean. Normally, what kind of kills these things is a gathering of problems. Like, they don't start for whatever reason, so then they sit around, and the next thing you know, they got a flat, and they don't start for whatever reason. Then they sit around a little bit longer, and somebody breaks the fender off or the seat, right? Through tiny little holes or whatever. You know, they get moisture in them, or you put crap on them, like I have a tendency to do, right? And you bust the seat up. So now you got a broken fender, flat tires, it won't start, and the seat's screwed up. If they have a battery, if they sit for any more than a month or two, even if you disconnect the batteries normally, you got to charge them before they'll start. You know, more that kills these things than anything else, quite honestly, is not using them. I mean, keep the thing functional, keep it running, and they're really nice. If you start them up, if you ride them, you know, a couple of times a week, once a week, twice a month, they normally stay the happiest. Really, once a week is ideal. when it comes to maintenance, try to, you see where the seat goes, where the handlebars are? You try not to put an idiot here. I've had more damage done to my stuff when I've let friends ride them, especially if it's multiple friends at the same time. I once let a bunch of CT70s loose at a party, and I caught my friends having a demolition derby with CT70s. How's that for something to lose a friendship about? So unless your buddies or fellow riders with their own bikes, you kind of want to keep them off of that. Same with, like, girlfriend of your brother. She was on a little ATC 70, and they crashed into each other and bent the heck out of the foot peg, and she ended up with a knee injury that almost got me a lawsuit, and he bent the handlebars on the 70, and it's like there were acres to ride, and these two have to crash into each other. So once again, try to never let anything on the seat except a competent rider. Don't put parts on the seat, and don't put an idiot on the seat. So that's most of it, right? That's kind of from a care and feeding point of view. The more you ride these things, the happier they are. Keep them full of oil. Don't say, oh, there's oil on the dipstick, it's all fine. Yeah, if you don't care about your engine, keep the oil full. Keep the quality up there. Keep the chains lubed up. All common sense stuff. Watch some videos on YouTube. They'll keep you going. And there you are. Obviously, if you ride them at night, or actually I recommend keeping the lights going. Never hurts to have a working headlight, even if you don't use it. Batteries. Keep them charged, keep the tires full, keep the oil full, keep the gas clean and full, or not full unless you're using it. Keep the additives in. Hope this helps. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for dropping by to watch, to comment, to subscribe. Remember to keep your feet down, keep your heads up, and please get out there and enjoy all your days. Bye now, folks.